بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters, respected viewers. Welcome to the fourth episode of Fatimiya discussion. And I'm Mustafa Al-Khatib, and I'm proud to be at your service in this sacred place next to the holy shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, on top of the roof of the building of Imam Hussein TV channel. And next to me, our respected guest, Sayyid Al-Nawab, that I'm going to welcome him for being here in this show. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyidina, and welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and thank you, and my salams to our dear respected viewers wherever they are, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you and to protect
Thank you.
them wherever they may be.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Sayyidina. I'm sure that the respected viewers are waiting for a salam and ziyarah on their behalf. So let's have it. And inshallah, after that, I'm going to have a few questions for you.
Inshallah,
Please.
inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On behalf of the dear respected viewers of Imam Hussein television channel and mu'mineen and mu'minat, lovers of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein and Abu Fadl al-Abbas alayhim salam, wherever they are, we recite this ziyarah on their behalf and on behalf of their marhumeen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن سيدي الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك وعلى أنصارك وأصحابك والمستشهدين بين يديك ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا ساقي عطاش كربلاء يا قمر بني هاشم يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك وعلى أمك الطاهرة أم البنين. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك وعلى أختك الحوراء زينب وعلى إخوتك ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Tonight, we will be discussing the misconceptions regarding the Lady Fatimah Al Zahraa salamullah alayha and the oppressions of Lady Fatimah Al Zahraa salamullah alayha. In other words, was Lady Fatimah salamullah alayha wrong in requesting her right about Fadak? Why didn't Imam Ali alayhi salam defend Fatimah Al Zahraa salamullah alayha while Umar attacked their house and burned the door? These are misconceptions asked, and tonight we are going to have answers to them, inshallah. Said, for the first question about the first misconception, which is about Fadak. We know that Fadak belonged to the Fatimah al-Zahra salamullah alayha, and the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, just gave it to Fatimah al-Zahra salamullah alayha. But the first misconception is that Fadak belonged to the Caliphate and Fatima was wrong to request it. Is this misconception true to be asked or not?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها عدد ما أحاط به علمك يا الله. This is a very important question, but at the same time, it shows those asking these kind of questions that they have not tired themselves to go and read and educate themselves, at least about the history of the land of Fadak.
Yeah.
If we go back, step back a little bit in history, in the Islamic history, we find that the sole reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to give Fadak to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam was that earlier on when Rasulullah married Sayyida Khadija ibn Khuwaylid alayha salam, she was the wealthiest lady in Arabia.
Yes.
She was so wealthy that the rest of the businessmen, the rest of the merchants, they used to come and borrow some of the wealth of Lady Khadija so they can use it to go and make business in Sham or Yemen. And then as a result of them selling their goods or purchasing whatever they wanted and then selling them on, they will be able to return the wealth of Khadija in the means and the terms of mudaraba,
Yeah.
which is a very well-known Islamic practice in fiqh. So Lady Khadija, being the wealthiest and the richest individual in Arabia at the time, owning hundreds and hundreds of camels, buildings, lands, houses,
Good.
fields, food, gardens of palm trees, whatever that comes to your mind. And she inherited it from her father, from her family. Hence, when she married Rasulullah, when she asked the hand of Rasulullah in marriage, because usually it is men that come and ask for a woman's hand in marriage and they spend money
Yeah.
and they give dowry. But Lady Khadija was the first individual in the history of mankind to go and ask the hand of her husband in marriage and then to spend or give the whole of her wealth
To her
to the
husband.
Holy Prophet, to her husband, and hence giving it to Islam.
Yeah.
That's why we have a narration narrating ما قام الإسلام إلا بثلاث, and one of them being Islam
The
could
wealth of
not
Lady Khadija.
take
Salam.
shape, uh, and one of them being by three, and one of them is the wealth of Khadija and the power, the sword of Ali ibn Abi Talib. So here, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees this action, this behavior from his servant Khadija alayhi salam, and she honestly and sincerely gave everything towards Allah and his holy prophet. It's not that she had a little feeling in her heart saying, shall I give, shall I not give? No. She gave everything wholeheartedly. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the kindest of all. He is Akramul Akrameen. He has to, at one stage, he has to return that favor in this life and then in the hereafter. So here, that portion of history remained on hold, paused until Lady Khadija alayhi salam passed away. Rasulullah migrated to Medina, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Then the event of Khaybar happened.
Yes.
Within the vicinity of the village of Khaybar lies the village of Fadak
Yeah.
and the fields of Fadak. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a very important occurrence and verses from the Holy Quran, gifts and gives the fields and the gardens of Fadak as a hibah, as a present, as a gift to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And then the Archangel Jibreel explains to the Holy Prophet, O Prophet of Allah, this is a return to what Khadija done in the beginning of Islam. Allah is returning the favor.
Yeah.
And then hence Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, knowing that the only surviving child from Khadija is Fatimah Al Zahraa salamullahi alayha, takes that and gives it and gifts it to Zahra alayhi salam.
Salamullah.
Now some Muslims come and question that this process, was it given to the Islamic government, to the Islamic Ummah, or was it the ownership, it was privately owned by Rasulullah? I would say, and Islam says, Islam's got a ruling that anything that you Muslims do not go and fight for, you did not carry swords, you did not march towards, You did not engage in a battle, you did not take it from the enemies physically, then that is counted as a fay. Fay in Arabic language is is used to describe something that is in the possession, it is part of the possession of the leader of the government, is under the ownership of Rasulullah privately.
Privately, yeah.
None other is able to share that with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hence, Rasulullah, what he owned privately, he gives it to Fatima. It's not something that the Muslims have a share in it, because they did not fight. It's not part of the booties of war. So ever since that day, ever since the events of Khaybar, which was in the early stages of Rasulullah going to Medina, and Abu Bakr and Umar were amongst those who noticed and experienced the bravery of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib in Khaybar. And they observed the revelation of this verse upon the Holy Prophet, and how Rasulullah said in front of the Muslims in the mosque and privately, he gifts Fadak and he writes a contract in the name of Fatima, showing her ownership of Fadak. And ever since that day, Fatimah Al Zahraa alayhi salam, as anyone else who's got a field and garden, he places his employees, people working for them,
Yes.
to cultivate and to grow and to sow the fruits. So the people of Fadak, those who originally lived and worked in Fadak, they came to agree with Rasulullah, leave us to live here, we will not be
Fight
against
you.
you, at the same time we will work for your favor. So those individuals stayed serving, and many of them converted to Islam,
Yes.
became Muslims. So Fatima Al Zahra, ever since the events of Khaybar and so on, she had her employees working, and every year they used to bring the kharaj, they used to bring the everything that they spent or everything they sold and they gained, they used to come and return it to Fatima Al Zahra alayhi salam. And in return, she used to give it to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and then Amir al-Mu'mineen used to distribute it amongst the
The
Muslims,
poor people, yeah.
the poor people, the fuqara. So here you can't Islamically, and from the verses of the Holy Quran and from the traditions of the Hadith, no one is able to come and say this is something owned by the Islamic government, and whoever comes and becomes the leader of the government takes that. Okay, let's say this is something owned by the government. But what government are we talking about? A legitimate government, or
Or you-
anyone that comes and does an uprising and says, I am the new leader, they are able to take whatever. Like today, there is a revolution, there is an uprising, the one that was powerful enough to take that position takes all the wealth. Is that a legitimate government?
No. Never.
Is that government able to go and knock on people's houses and say, your land is mine, your field is mine, your garden is mine?
This is usurping. This is not
So
legitimacy.
this misconception is merely excuse used against the Shia of Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam to confuse many, to say that no, Fadak was something that belonged to the government at that time, while it belonged to Fatima Al Zahra through many evidences. One of them was a contract that when she came to the masjid and spoke and delivered the sermon of Fadak, she presented that
Yeah.
contract, which later on Omar, one of his crimes, came and took that contract and ripped
I ripped it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Edna. There are lots of misconceptions actually. The second misconception goes like Fatima Salamullah alayha, Salamullah alayha. They don't say Fatima Salamullah alayha. They only
Yes, they
just
just
say
say
her
radiyallah.
name.
The most they
Yeah,
say is radiyallah. May Allah
yeah.
please be pleased with
Be
her.
pleased with them. Her voicing, or Fatima voicing her resistance to Abu Bakr was a fitna. This is the second misconception.
Again, it's a shame that they don't try to place themselves in the place of Fatima alayhi salam. Once you come to agree with us that Fadak was a land that was owned by Fatima alayhi salam, if you have a land, if you have a field, if you have a building, if you have a property, and someone comes and takes it, someone comes and takes that land and says, you are no longer the owner of this place. Leave, go, get out. Now, if you come and stand in front of the judge, go to court, place a lawyer, start voicing your concerns and your emotions and your problems, would one come and say that you are causing fitna? Go back home and sit down and don't say anything? You are an individual who has been oppressed. The right of your rightful husband, the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen as a leader has been taken from him. He is your Imam. Merely for defending your Imam, the Imam of your time, who you see as a Khalifa, as a role model, as a legitimate representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for merely voicing those concerns and wanting to defend your Imam, the Imam of your time, you are seen as someone who is doing fitna. And whilst they are the ones that came and caused this problem, left the body of Rasulullah for the family who are in grief, who are in problems, who are in sorrow,
They don't call it fitna.
they don't help. They leave the family to be alone. They go and do an uprising, plan a revolution. They are not the ones causing fitna, and Fatima, the daughter of Rasulullah, is the one causing fitna. Whilst years later, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam openly writes in a letter to Muawiyah describing him to him that you are saying to me, O Muawiyah, you are saying to me, I, Ali ibn Abi Talib, I was the one that was causing fitna by not going and standing alongside Abu Bakr and Umar and supporting them in their government. You fail to recognize and understand that they were the ones that caused this problem for the Ummah and caused this division. So it is, unfortunately, again, they try to blame Ahlul Bayt alayhim
Yeah.
salam for everything, whilst Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they were the oppressed ones.
Allah.
It's a shame. Now, someone that commits a crime, you go and want to take them to prison. You don't go to the person who the crime is practiced upon. You go after the zalim, you don't go after the madloom.
Sure.
But unfortunately, it's a shame. It's the continuation of the process of the oppression
When it comes
that
to Ahlul
still until
Bayt,
today is being
they blame
practiced
Ahlul Bayt for that.
against Ahlul Bayt, that they go after the oppressed and they leave the oppressor.
Oppressor.
By no means, God forbid, would Fatima alayhi salam would come and stand and try to cause fitna. She is the daughter of the one that came and wanted to save people, to protect people from the ignorance. They forget how their grandparents and their previous generations were in fitna. Their lifestyle was a
It
fitna.
was fitna. Yeah, they were
They
burying
used to
their
attack
newborn
one another,
baby girls. Yeah.
kill one another, loot the belongings of one another. They used to bury their own children alive.
Allah.
That itself is not a fitna. And they come now today and they speak about the daughter of the beloved Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who was sent as a sign of mercy, rahmah, the embodiment, the representation, the manifestation of mercy on the face of this earth. You come and accuse his family members of causing fitna? Again,
Thank you.
this is a shame.
Sure, for sure. And the third misconception actually that I would like to ask you and to hear your answer about it is just like this. Imam Ali alayhi salam would never have stood by while Fatima was attacked.
Again, they come and say, when we lecturers or speakers, when we read and recite the Masa'ib of Lady Fatima alayhi salam, we mention that in the house were Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein, and the daughters of Amir al-Mu'mineen. They would come and say, okay, you yourself is saying that Ali was in the house. And when the enemies or the so-called companions came and wanted to burn down the door, and they attacked the house of Fatima, we believe Ali ibn Abi Talib is the bravest of all. There is none other braver than Ali ibn Abi Talib. بطل الأبطال قالع باب خيبر.
Yeah.
Asadullah, he is titled, the Lion of Allah. Then where is he? Naturally, if you and I are at home and one of our family members is in danger, the first thing we would do is go to protect them.
Yeah.
They say, why didn't Ali ibn Abi Talib come and protect Fatimah Al Zahraa? The first answer is that in terms of bravery, in terms of courage, in terms of knowledge, in terms of faith and iman and belief, who are you to come and question the action of Ali ibn Abi Talib? Ali ibn Abi Talib being a ma'soom, being an infallible. Who am I to come and question why Ali ibn Abi Talib did this or why Ali ibn Abi Talib did not do this? He is the Imam, he is the chosen leader. No doubtly, you don't come and sit in front of a scholar and say, oh Maulana or oh Alim or oh scholar, why did you make this halal or why did you make this haram? They would tell you, this is the riwayat, this is the narrations, this is my knowledge, this is the years of studies that I have made. Then you are talking about Ali ibn Abi Talib, the one who was being educated and who was educated and taught by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, describing his fellowship of Rasulullah and how he followed Rasulullah, he comes and says, I used to follow him step by step, and I used to place my steps in his steps. Now this is Ali ibn Abi Talib. That's the first answer. The second answer is that who says that Ali ibn Abi Talib did not come out and did not speak to Umar and Abu Bakr when they came to attack the house? Go back. On many occasions, on different times, they came and attacked the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And in the last time they came and burnt the door. But in previous attempts, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he used to come out and speak to them. But in this occasion, in this last occasion, Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, it is narrated that he came when they were able to successfully enter the house and take Amir al-Mu'mineen. And the door of the house, Amir al-Mu'mineen takes Umar وأخذ بتلابيبه. Amir al-Mu'mineen takes Umar from his collar and throws him to the ground and sits or wipes his nose, squashes his nose, the nose of Umar. And then he says to Umar, says, by Allah, if there wasn't a will, a wasiyyah from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, you and your friends and your companions, you would know how I would reply and answer back to what you are doing. But my hands are tight because of the wasiyyah. The wasiyyah. Rasulullah, before passing away, he brought Ali ibn Abi Talib. Archangel Jibreel came down from the heavens and said, Ya Ali, Ya Rasulullah, have you informed Ali ibn Abi Talib about what is going to happen? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam previously used to say, no, I haven't had the chance. But at the end, Rasulullah brings Amir al-Mu'mineen. They sit down privately and starts narrating to him what is going to happen. And every occasion he used to ask Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ya Ali, afatasbir? They will come and they will take Imamah and Khilafah. Will you be patient? Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam used to say, if it's in the salamah, if it's in the peace and the well-being of Islam and my religion, asbir, I will be patient. Rasulullah says, Ya Ali, they will come to your house and they will burn the door. Afatasbir? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, if it's in the interest of Islam, I will be patient. Ya Ali, they will attack your wife
Allah.
and they will break her ribs. And Rasulullah used to recite the masa'ib that will fall upon Fatima. Amir al-Mu'mineen in many occasions used to say no, because it's difficult for a husband, for Amir al-Mu'mineen. But then later on, Amir al-Mu'mineen used to say, Asbir.
Allah.
If Allah wants me to be patient, I will be patient. So here, Amir al-Mu'mineen, first of all, there was a will, there was a wasiyyah confining him. He was not, because why? You say, why would there be a wasiyyah stopping Ali ibn Abi Talib? The wasiyyah was not because Ali ibn Abi Talib was not going to be patient. No. It was because of Islam. Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Imams alayhim salam, the interest of Islam is their interest, and their interest is the interest of Islam. At the end of the day, all they want is that Islam and the banner of Islam is upright. They don't want any danger to come close to Islam. So Ali ibn Abi Talib was able, and I say this wholeheartedly, he was able to take his sword. He is the one that stood in front of thousands of strong Arabian warriors. 100, 200, 300
Yeah, it's nothing for
Arabs are nothing compared to what Amir al-Mu'mineen done in Khandaq and in Ahzab and in Badr and in Uhud. When the rest of the Muslims, they ran away, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he and a couple of others were the ones that protected Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam against the army of Quraysh. Ali ibn Abi Talib was able to wipe the face of this earth from them. But I will use an example to clarify this. One day, he came back home, Fatima Al Zahraa, after the attack and after everything, she fell ill. She spoke to Amir al-Mu'mineen and she said, why do I see you in this situation, all upset? You are Ali. Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi alayhi said, oh Fatima, if I wanted to, I would be able to go and wipe the face of this earth from these enemies of Allah. But the mention of your father, Rasulullah, will no longer be on the pulpits and on the minarets. So this shows that what was important to Ali ibn Abi Talib, if it means that Islam will stay safe, I will sacrifice my wife, my children, my unborn child, my reputation for the sake of Islam.
Allah.
And this is what happened.
And that's really hard to be patient in front of such a tragedy which happens.
Again, we are only speaking
we're
it,
only
but we
just-
haven't physically noticed
Allah.
what happened.
Say that there is another misconception which says if the attack happened, Imam Ali alayhi salam wouldn't have named his children Abu Bakr and Umar. So,
Again, when we come to study these narrations that narrates the fact that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam named some of his children, many different answers comes to light. One answer would come to light that this event did not exist. That Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam did not have any children by the name of Abu Bakr or Umar.
but he had a children named Uthman. But
Yes,
it was
he had a son
yeah.
named Uthman, and the Imam gives the reason why
Yeah.
he named him Uthman. He said, because previously I had a very dear, very close friend by the name of Uthman ibn
Ibn
Mad'un,
Mad'un, yeah.
and then because I miss him and I want to be in remembrance of this great friend, I called my son
My son
Uthman.
Uthman.
This is one. Another answer is, so what if Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, let's say he called his son Abu Bakr or Omar.
Or Omar.
Does it mean that he, alayhi salam, is committing a sin or doing a haram by naming them? Okay, the enemies of Allah, those two individuals were named Abu Bakr and Omar. It doesn't mean that he was in favor and he liked those two individuals that he named his sons Abu Bakr and Omar. A third explanation would be is that as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam adopted sons for himself, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he adopted sons as well, like Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr.
Yeah. Son of Abu Bakr, Imam Ali
He
alayhi
was
salam.
brought up by Ali ibn
By Imam
Abi
Ali
Talib. And also Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, he had a sister by the name of Kalthum that Amir al-Mu'mineen also in some narrations adopted. That's why they say when they come and say that, for example, Abu Bakr or Omar, they came and they married the daughters of Ali ibn Abi Talib. It wasn't the daughters of Ali ibn Abi Talib. If we want to take that narration,
Yes.
it is the adopted daughters. And these are all misconceptions. They don't have reality. But again, we would come and say that doesn't prove anything. If I come and name my son so and so, and there was previously in time, in history, someone that in the same name committed a crime, does it mean that I am following that person?
No.
So again, we can't, at the end of the day, we can't come and question the actions of an imam if he actually had sons that he named Abu Bakr and Umar, which again some come and accept it and some come and say no, he didn't have.
And another word, in comparison between this act, if it happened, and all the other usurping things that the Abu Bakr and Umar did against Ahl al-Bayt salawatullah wa salam alayhim ajma'in, and Imam Ali alayhi salam, this is nothing.
This is
This is
nothing.
really nothing.
They are trying to use these minute
Yeah,
excuses
just to
to make
wash
Amir
the face of
al-Mu'mineen
Abu Bakr and Umar. Yeah,
closer to Abu Bakr and Umar.
Allah.
So to give legitimacy to their
To
actions.
their action and government. Okay, for the last misconception that we have for this episode right here is it goes like the house was threatened but never attacked. The house of Fatima Al Zahraa salamullah alayha. What do we say for them?
If we were to rely upon the narrations of the other schools of thought, as I read in the beginning of the last episode, is that Umar ibn al-Khattab physically and straight out he said to Fatima, I will burn the house upon the companions and upon Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Yes.
There were other narrations that say that Umar brought coal, brought wood. I would ask you, why would you bring coal and wood and place it on the door of the house of Fatima Al Zahraa
And a torch in your hand.
and a torch in your hand and you attack? And this is narrations narrated by the other schools.
Yeah.
It's not narrations I brought from the Shia books. So when you have similar narrations like that in the books of the non-followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and their ulama, they say these riwayats and these traditions are sahih, then who am I to come and say this is not sahih? If it's not sahih, then you have a problem with your ulama and their publications. Go and burn those books. So we know where we stand.
Yeah.
So if your own narrations say that Umar ibn al-Khattab with a group of people, they came and attacked the house of Fatima, then there is no reason for us to come and deny that they did not burn the house and they did not enter. And also the confession of Abu Bakr and Umar, as it is narrated in their own books, after the events of the attack by some time, they come and wish that they did not enter upon Fatima, they did not enter the house. And they They narrate also how Fatimah Al Zahraa عليها السلام كانت إلى آخر لحظات حياتها واجدة على أبي بكر وعمر. Lady Fatima, until the last moments of her life, she was angry.
Yes.
She was cross with Abu Bakr and Umar.
She didn't
I would
even
tell
answer
you,
their salam.
Fatima Al Zahra, she's been brought up by the Imam of Mercy, by the Prophet of Mercy. Why would she feel cross and angry until the last moments of her life for merely someone coming and misbehaving in front of her door? She would feel angry and upset and broken and not speak to them once they enter. They entered. Ask Amir al-Mu'mineen for permission to be able to apologize to Fatima al-Zahra. Fatima al-Zahra said, Ya Ali, if you accept, I will not negotiate, but I will not speak to them. And Lady Fatima turned her face towards the wall. I would say to you, if Fatima al-Zahra did not have any problems with Abu Bakr and Umar, why would she not speak to them and turn her face towards the wall? Is this the behavior of a mu'min? So they must have done something that was not acceptable, that was unforgettable. So this shows that they did actually attack the house. They burned the door and they entered upon Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. But I would say go back to your books and read so you can educate yourself.
Allah.
And unfortunately, some of the weak-minded and weak-hearted of those who call themselves we are followers and lovers of Ahl al-Bayt, unfortunately they carry these misconceptions. We pray for all, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can guide them towards the light and the nur of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam.
Ilahi. Thank you so much, Sayyid, for the great description and answer to all these misconceptions. And inshallah, all of us and respected viewers be true followers of Ahl Bayt salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'een. We still have got 3 to 4 minutes to the end of the show, and if you don't mind,
We'll remember and recite Masa'ib. Remember the tragedy of when Amir al-Mu'mineen, after the death of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, in the darkness of the night, as she had wished that she would be prepared and she would be buried in the darkness of the night when everyone else is all asleep. Amir al-Mu'mineen places a curtain in the middle of the house. They are in sorrow, they are in mourning, they are in pain. Little Hassan, little Hussein, Zainab, Kulthum, each one taking a corner of the house, placing their heads on their knees and crying and weeping and remembering the places that their mother Fatima used to walk in the house. Amir al-Mu'mineen, with the help of Asma or Fidda, comes and starts preparing the ceremony of preparing the body of Fatima. Although Fatima alayhi salam was pure, was clean, she said, Ya Ali, if you want to wash and do ghusl, ani tahira, ana tahira, mutahhara, I am clean, do not take away my clothing of my body. Why? Because Lady Fatima did not want Amir al-Mu'mineen, first of all, to look at the bruises on the body of Fatima. Fatima did not want Amir al-Mu'mineen to look at the place where the nail pierced her chest. And what is worse, Fatima did not want Amir al-Mu'mineen to look at the broken ribs of Fatima. Suddenly, Asma says, I saw Amir al-Mu'mineen unfinished, leave everything and sit down in a corner of the house. I came to him and said, Ya Ali, you advise us, you ask us not to cry loudly. Why do I see you leaving everything and crying out? He said, Ya Asma, la talumili. do not speak to me. Why? Because as I was washing the body of Fatima, I moved my hand on the ribs of Fatima فأحسست بخسف في أضلاعها. I noticed, I realized there are broken ribs in the body of Fatima. Hence, Amir al-Mu'minin realized this was the reason why Fatima, every time she wanted to move around the house, move around the room, she would place one hand on her back and one hand on the wall. I would say, Amir al-Mu'minin, you did not physically observe and see the broken ribs of Fatima. You just felt it was merely a ihsas, and it made you cry out loudly in front of the children in the darkness of the night. But I would say, what would you do if you was there in Ashura to see your little Zainab come in the darkness of the night besides the body of this gharib and sit down and speak with the decapitated body of her brother Hussein. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم.
Thank you so much. May Allah bless you. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون. Thank you so much, Sayyidina, for the recitation, for the answer, and for all the information that you gave us in this episode. May Allah bless you. Respected brothers and sisters, viewers, lovers, and followers of Ahlul Bayt, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'een. May Allah bless you, and thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great time, and until the next episode, labbayka ya Hussein.